Thanks for joining us. I'm Christine Russo.
Thomas Malik saying he is happy his mother was alive to see the day he was finally able to walk free. Antoine, he's not alone in that sentiment. A lot of people we've been speaking to throughout the weekend say they really feel just lost here, like people kind of forgot about them. As Bankman-Fried, he is waking up in custody in the Bahamas this morning. That's where he's going to.
I don't make these decisions, Rosanna, but here we are. Well, the Pentagon, though, thankfully, they are watching that device, and they say it's been spotted over Montana.
It actually just finally got quiet right now as I started speaking, but the police commissioner earlier today, water has receded by this point, but right now the wind is picking up, the temperatures obviously are dropping, and people are preparing for that next high tide, which is coming in around 8 o'clock. We have the information confirmed right now is one officer shot in the leg around 3:30 this afternoon in Jamaica, Queens, and was transported to Jamaica Hospital, said to be in stable condition. That is the latest information we have right now. We spoke extensively with a neighbor of that family, and she says she's actually the one who called 911.
32 teams and a month-long tournament. There's lots of opportunities for a big payout if you're up for it.
It was very crazy down here all throughout the day. There was a lot of emotion, a lot of energy, and both sides, of course, very passionate about what they believe, and both sides of this story wanting to be seen and heard.
Let him through. Let him through. If he wants to be on that side, let him through.
This was just part of the scene.
Navigating the sidewalks is almost like getting through an obstacle course. Some people say the sheer volume of vendors has spiraled so out of control that it comes down to a quality of life issue. And absolutely no signs of slowing down yet. Earlier it was completely packed, a little bit less crowded right now, but you can hear the music is still going, the food is still going, the dancing definitely still going. Unbelievable and surreal morning here in Farmingdale. Homeowners are literally picking up the pieces of the last 12 years of their life in this home. They tell me they are still in shock. If you don't know much about wine, then this store kind of holds your hand through the buying. One victim is still in the hospital, and she's
Of State had a candid conversation with counterparts in China. More on this first meeting since the spy balloon incident and China's response.
Says he's also formulating a plan to let New Yorkers host some of these asylum seekers, like many European cities have done with Ukrainians. It was unconstitutional to ban guns in places like Times Square and in the subway, but New York State Attorney General Letitia James, she says she's going to be moving very quickly.
Rookies are reporting for spring training and hitting the field tomorrow. Fox 5's Tina Servat.
In the hospital, and she's in stable condition right now. The others have been released. Now the case moves to the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office. Meanwhile, the mayor says the federal government is supposed to reimburse the city for these 10. News of these attacks are going around on WeChat. That's a popular social media site. And even though there hasn't been a ton of media attention about these attacks, he says one thing is clear, that the student community here is really looking out for. Really emotional testimony today inside this courthouse. One of those men described the last 25 years in prison as a slow death. And as for the father who was killed, the neighbor tells us he was a laid-back man who worked long hours to support his daughters. A lot of people we spoke to and met today say they're going to be staying with family in other parts of the city, at least until they can safely get back inside of their homes and sort of assess what the damage really is. U.S. prosecutors say extradition efforts are underway to get him back stateside. They also say more charges could come for anyone involved in the alleged fraud. Back to you guys.
It comes down to clarity in the law, and she admits there's been some confusion in the language of the law, which she says has led to a lack of accountability for judges making their decisions. So that complaint filed earlier, and we are waiting to hear back.
The lifeguards reiterated that this was an extremely rare event yesterday, so they don't want to freak you out or deter anybody from hopping into the water this summer. But if you do want to avoid a potential shark encounter, they say one thing you can do is keep an eye out for any large schools of fish. If you see that, you're going to want to head the other way, or
just a few asylum seekers have checked into the Randall's Island temporary welcome shelter since it opened on Wednesday. The site is only for single adult men to stay for at least 4 days while the city processes them. We met a man from Venezuela who recently arrived to New York and is staying at another shelter. He says he just heard about this one on Randall's Island and wanted to find out more. We talked about why there seems to be less people coming to New York in recent days. It seems like less people are coming here now. What do you think about that? When I came here, everybody heard that there were many Latin Americans, Venezuelans, Cubans, Dominicans, people from Honduras that were here in New York. And now we're hearing that everyone is going to Miami or Boston to be with other family. Earlier, the mayor said the flow of migrants crossing the southern border has slowed down in part thanks to President Biden's announcement last week. He says that Venezuelan asylum seekers cannot cross the border while their asylum requests are being processed.
We were getting 8, 9, 10 buses. After we communicated with the White House, they responded. They put in place a decompression strategy. I think today we received 2 buses. Yesterday we received 2 buses, a substantial decrease.
Meanwhile, the more than 84,000 square foot facility here on Randall's Island remains largely unoccupied. Attorneys with the Legal Aid Society say the Welcome Center here might not be so appealing for those who just finished a long and often dangerous journey to arrive to the United States.
It is voluntary, so it's possible that the migrant individuals who arrived today saw the tent and said, this is not where I want to be, I'm not comfortable here, I don't think this is the right fit for me, and decided not to go there and went elsewhere.
This father from Venezuela arrived to New York City a few months ago with his family. Every day, he collects and recycles bottles, walking up and down Jamaica Avenue. Some days, he makes more than $30. He says it's enough to get diapers and milk for the week. The responsibility is mine. It's not up to the United States to help me. It's my responsibility as a father. He and his family are staying at this Queens shelter provided by the Department of Homeless Services. It's like a mini apartment. We have the kitchen and refrigerator and our own bathroom. He says they don't want to be seen as a burden. It's good. It's comfortable. A sentiment shared by Saray Alvarado, who also lives at this shelter with her husband and 2-year-old son. Because everything my kids went through to get here, at least they are protected. Alvarado has been here 3 months, and she says she and her family have been treated well. She only briefly met the Colombian woman who tragically took her own life last week here and says she hasn't seen that woman's children since. She says the rules of the shelter are a bit strict when it comes to talking to other neighbors. The rules, you can't talk to the neighbors. We can go across the street to the park, but I think it's more dangerous out there, really. Meanwhile, the city says they're preparing for a bigger influx of asylum seekers. Mayor Adams announced their emergency relief plan to host up to 1,000 people in temporary tents in Orchard Beach. Other city officials questioning that solution.
Our system is bursting, and so we have a problem. That problem cannot be ignored. That problem is only going to get worse if we don't get additional resources from the federal government.
The heat was gone, the Ebola was gone.
Wilson from Far Rockaway is one of the people whose homes got slammed by Thursday night's coastal flooding. We were on his street, B70th, on Friday, capturing some of that damage. That storm left him and his family without heat or hot water, just as temperatures dropped dangerously low.
There is not one place in the state of New York where the temperature is above 0 as far as the real field temperature. That's what it feels like on your skin.
Governor Hochul and Queensborough President Donovan Richards held a press conference on Saturday, promising to get people here help.
You can certainly call 311, but you should be able to come down to Goldie Maple Academy and to some of the other centers to make sure that you know what's available.
Goldie Maple Academy is where we met Wilson. He was looking for that help, but was confused to find the doors locked here. According to the Red Cross, the site was only open until 4 p.m., but Wilson says it wasn't clear.
And since yesterday, I've been looking for help, and nothing was forthcoming. I called 911, I called 311, nothing was forthcoming.
So we called 311 and was told the only immediate option for the family was to stay in a homeless shelter in the Bronx. But after making more calls, Fox 5 was able to get a Red Cross spokesperson on the line and get clear answers. How can we help them tonight?
We're going to work to help this gentleman, but they're going to need a little more information about the situation.
In the meantime, Wilson and his neighbors are doing their best to stay warm.
Right now, I've only got one radiator, and it's in my mother's room. So I'm staying in my mother's room with the one radiator between us.
Well, if you're like this family here and you don't have heat or hot water, you can call 877 Red Cross. Hit #1, and that will set you up with an agent who can help get you your heat and hot water back as soon as possible. James Casey might be most known for his stunning saxophone skills. Along with just about every other instrument you can think of. The multi-instrumentalist, singer, and producer whose collaborations run the musical gamut from Talib Kweli, Trey Anastasio bands, and Phil and Friends, can now add Christmas album producer and musician to his accolades.
I've never heard Christmas music like this before because I just had an idea for something and it came to fruition.
His album, A Little Something for Everyone, debuts today. It's the first time he's ever released his own album.
It's uplifting, it's happy, it does all the things it needs to do. Plus, I mean, it's a new Christmas song. I wrote a Christmas song, it's ridiculous.
And in another first for him, all proceeds from the album go directly towards helping uninsured people get screened for colon cancer. Casey was diagnosed with the disease last year.
I just want people to go get checked because if they do, they don't have to go through the mess that comes after with chemo and surgeries and all. Just go get checked.
Collaborating with the Nancy Lanhorne Foundation, they've already raised close to $8,000. The first copy sold out within hours. And with so much demand, they're releasing a second round of the Christmas vinyl.
I'm feeling amazing, actually. The fact that so many people bought it so quickly, and then we've had so many people over the last few weeks asking for more. Are there more? Are there more? Can we get more vinyl? Can we get more vinyl? Yes, we found a way to do it. It goes on sale for the pre-orders today.
The album itself is a joyful explosion of sounds. Casey used his own childhood Christmas memories for the first single, Christmas Funk.
I wanted to write a song that felt like I did when I was a kid, running downstairs and hoping for the best. Like we were very poor, but we were really hoping for a whole lot of presents and just the feeling of the anticipation.
Through all the genres Casey plays, gospel remains closest to his heart. His mother was a pastor and his father a choir director.
Growing up in that household, there was nothing but music playing all the time.
The last track on the album honors those gospel roots.
The one that's most special to me is the one that just got released on December 5th when the full record came out. It's called His Eyes on the Sparrow. It was a tribute to my mother and my grandmother.
The album is available for digital download on all streaming platforms and iTunes, and for purchase on 1223records.com. His solo EP is set to debut next year at the Creamery Studio in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Christine Russo, Fox 5 News.
Check this display, hit it on the money.
They're talking and laughing about the romantic comedy and family-produced play called Checklist.
We try to focus on that checklist is a fantasy, really, you know what I'm saying? You might not find everybody with all the checks on the list, but you might find love. And if you find love, hold on to love.
Writer and director Walid Burgos says at its core, the play is about a biracial couple, each with their own checklist of desired traits in their romantic partner.
I always look at a biracial couple like that's a beautiful thing because everybody might be looking at them and they don't care. So they gotta be strong.
As me growing up from Spanish Arm, that was something that you couldn't touch back in the day. Anybody had to stick to their own kind.
The story is also told through the lens of humor, and lots of it.
Women and men come with checklists, and then when you get a certain age, you're like, I gotta take what I gotta get.
The play was created from the ground up, a family-run operation with Walid writing, his older brother acting, and other family members in starring roles as well.
We've never done it before. Never thought we can do it. We didn't know we were losing the book. We didn't know how many people was coming.
But they kept going. And against the odds, they've sold out 12 shows since starting this journey years ago.
It's gratifying. It's humbling. I get emotional. Like, it's really and it's still family. Still our best of our friends. They're still part of it in some way. Getting people to come, hosting it for us. And we're still going.
And now the play is almost on its 13th showing. It's going to be playing here this Saturday night at the Symphony Suites.
The brothers grew up in the South Bronx, an experience that helped prepare them for live performances and gave them the thick skin needed to do it.
A lot of jams, a lot of fog jams, a lot of battles. So if you're not good, they let you know. It's like everywhere in New York City is their pop.
Now, rehearsing at the My Time Academy in Harlem ahead of their next show, they're ready for what's coming next, taking the play on the road and around the world. They've even filmed a pilot for a sitcom which is loosely based on the play, now in negotiations with several networks.
It's been a 7-year grind, and we're finally seeing some light at the end of the tunnel.
Christine Russo, Fox 5 News.